All right, welcome to Out of the Blue from the Block and Podcast Network, part of the Fan First Sports Network, the podcast that has now been around 2.5 times longer than the Confederacy. Where's our statue outside of the courthouse? I am Jared Stormer of the Block and Podcast Network and MaizenBrew.com. With me, as always, is Andy Bailey, my hetero life mate of the same place and time. Andy Bailey, who sits in an exit row every time because he needs more room, but it ain't for his legs, if you're getting my drift. How the hell are you, my friend?
I'm good, brother. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Was back in Ohio for a couple days, back in Denver now, ready for the stretch run here. Sweet 16 bound Michigan. Was able to watch all the games, obviously. Michigan women still alive and kicking. Michigan men, Big Ten champions. What a sports week it has been since we last spoke.
It's one of the best sports weekends of my life. I mean, we're not going to talk about cycling on this podcast, but it was coming up all your boy over the weekend, so that was great. Kicking off the first monument of the season. But Michigan sports, I mean, it's hard to find a better weekend.
Yeah, actually, let's dive into some cycling. No need to talk about anything else here.
So I have a lot of thoughts on Milano
San
San Remo. I know it's a sprinter's classic, but right now we're changing the game by going on the Cipressa and the Poggio, not just waiting for the Poggio at the end.
I'm still going to throw up. That was more cycling than I've ever gotten in my life. But we don't hobby shame. We don't kink shame here. I honestly just have respect for how deep you are in all of this, reading your books on the 73 team, watching 73 tape, watching cycling, not missing women's tournament, dialed in on hockey, kid on the way. It deserves a round of applause. So love it. And great weekend for you in particular. Great weekend for Michigan. We're going to talk about all of it before we get into everything. Let's touch the banner here with some quick hits. Thought this was worth mentioning. Former Michigan Wolverine and a former Michigan Wolverine that transferred out that I still have some affection for, Terrace Reed, with a cool 31-27 in a win over Furman. Talk about a guy moving on from Michigan and both parties ending up in a great place. Good for him.
Yeah, no animosity towards Terrace Reed at all. I understand leaving after the Juwan Howard era ended, as it did so unceremoniously. And it's awesome to find him have success because he was such a likable player too.
He was. I liked him, and it worked out. Totally understandable that he would move on. And 31-27 is absolutely silly. I mean, I can't remember a stat line like that in college. Like, I think Jokic has done it in the NBA that I've seen, but that is next level stuff. Does he maybe work his way into an NBA conversation? I think he might. You know, we're having a big man resurgence. So I was happy to see it. And that's just like a crazy stat line.
Yeah, I mean, he cooled down in the second game against UCLA, but still it was 10 points and 13 rebounds. And what I love most about both games is the rebounds, because that typically translates very well to the NBA.
It does. Yeah. Trey Donaldson also still alive, former Wolverine. Another one that I don't necessarily hate against. Things worked out well for both of us. I'm very happy with Elliot Cadeau. Was a little bummed initially. And then former Michigan assistant coach Phil Martelli, I know this one might be a little bit bittersweet, leads VCU in a win over UNC. Excuse me. Yeah, his son. Yeah. But like the Martelli connection nonetheless. And Martelli, like, very likable guy, and his son also seems like a good dude, good coach too.
Yeah, good for them, man. It was awesome to see VCU have just a little brief run. I mean, the game against North Carolina was down to the wire, one of the best games of round one. They flamed out, but he's on the rise. I don't think he's going to be in Richmond much longer.
No, I don't think so either. And is Phil like part of the program? Because I saw him in like the post game, and I just kind of made the assumption I saw the Martelli coach, saw him there, and I don't even think I put that together. But yeah, you're probably right. I mean, with a win like that, UNC down Caleb Wilson, so probably a caveat there, but still a good win for VCU.
Yeah, still a great win for them. And speaking of North Carolina, that job is likely coming open. Like, I don't know if he's a front runner for it, but he certainly helped his case. I mean, that's a top 5 job in the country.
Big job. Maybe like one of 3 jobs that are like the only ones you kind of look like, don't call Dusty May. I think we're fine there, but like there's only a couple jobs that you even consider.
I've been spreading rumors. I'm like, hey, Kelvin Sampson, Todd Golden, Billy Donovan. I'm just like, go to North Carolina, obviously it's Carolina, everything else there. I'm just like, subtext, stay away from Dusty May.
Anybody else? Yeah. We're gonna talk plenty about this Michigan basketball team, obviously, in this podcast. A couple quick football notes here. Getting into the spring practice has begun, and we got some other news outside of spring practice. Ron Bellamy returning to Michigan as director of player personnel. This was a topic, I don't know if we were going to broach it this week, but it was going to come up on one of our podcasts of like, if you're trying to be a pessimist and find anything about the Kyle Whittingham era that you're not 10 toes down on, it's like, how good could they recruit? bringing in Ron Bellamy for this position to me is a home run. How do you feel about it?
Masterful hire. I think it finally got him in the position where he can succeed the most because you and I had a lot of gripes with Bellamy over the last few years, but those were all to do with on the field development and coaching. As a recruiter, his resume is unassailable.
Yeah, it's pretty impeccable. And, some of these guys coming from Utah, it's just a different league than
Yeah.
what they were recruiting and like what we're expecting to get at Michigan. So you could believe in them and be like, okay, they can step up here. Going to get a guy that's proven and proven in the regions that Michigan
Yep.
is going to like to recruit. It's changed a little bit since you and I were coming up watching this as like kids, where like it's pretty national now. We're going to be all over the place. We're going to have footprints in Georgia and Texas and even California. But nonetheless, like Ron Bellamy has experience going after the big fish.
And having those personal relationships is what's really going to drive this. So he has those all across the state of Michigan from his time as a high school coach, but obviously, to your point, to Texas as well, where he recruited Andrew Marsh directly.
Yes, and I mean that's worked out okay.
Pretty good.
Love this, and like and having that kind of longevity and good relationship with a guy like this that's now, firmly a Michigan man after being with Michigan for quite a while and now coming on with this next staff. That carryover to me, I think is going to be good not only for the guys that are carrying over, but for the program in general from a recruiting standpoint.
I
I
like
love
having
it.
former players on the staff as well in any capacity. I'm
Yeah.
always pro having former players on there.
Big fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I've always been a fan of that. Some more spring practice stuff here, though. Getting excited, man. As soon as you get the first nuggets out, it's feeling a little bit Harbaugh-y in that we're not getting a ton yet, but Whittingham did have some great stuff in his press conference that he was able to come out with. I want to start here at the top, and I think that this is newsworthy. One of the things that he said is that freshman quarterback Tommy Carr, 4-star, 3-star, depending on where you go to look at it, has a lead as quarterback number 2 as of right now. Now, I know there's maybe some caveats to that and some guys that aren't playing, but does that surprise you? What does this mean for the quarterback room if Tommy Carr is firmly in the mix as quarterback number 2?
I love it. I love getting a young guy on campus and just early on making this kind of impression. And lest we forget, his brother is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the country currently, CJ over at Notre Dame. And you have the Michigan connection with Lloyd Carr. That's obvious. Everybody knows that. But on his maternal side, less people know this. Tom Curtis, one of the best safeties in Michigan history, is his other grandfather. So just like a lot of Michigan lineage and lore just flowing into him. I love seeing him make this quick rise. Now, I don't know if he'll hold on to QB2 this season with Nikolai Beliosi or whatever coming from Colorado State. But again, to have him just making that rise now, it's not getting too distant to think about life after Bryce, and he's positioning himself nicely.
Absolutely. And that's something that we do as podcasters. Like, what does this mean down the road? And being QB number 2 this year and getting experience this year, that's going to give him the leg up moving forward. That is indicative of like, do we get a transfer next year? It really matters. This QB2, if he is QB2 for the entire year, that's really going to matter. That's going to mean that he is likely QB1 at Michigan at some point. You have the lineage, as you mentioned. You certainly have the build at 6'3", 6'3 and a half, 190. He's got really good velocity on the arm. He can move a little bit back there. Pretty prototypical quarterback, really fits the mold of a lot of guys that have come through our system. And I'd be excited by it. If nothing else, if you're developing an awesome backup and you have that guy, like that is great for this team. This is just a net win for this team. I think it's meaningful. I think this is actual news. And like you said, we'll see. I mean, this is early on, but it means that the kid's got something.
We should note how rare it is to hear good, positive, glowing reviews over a freshman quarterback that's only been on campus for 3 months.
Exactly. Yeah, it's worth mentioning, and I'm excited by it. And you and I, as you mentioned before, about like former players, the lineage stuff, I'm a sucker for it. I really like having these guys. Like we absolutely have to have Charles Woodson's kid. Like that's mandatory there. So I love seeing it, and really hope that it leads to something there. Other recruiting, or excuse me, spring practice nuggets that we heard from Kyle Whittingham. Sounds like Savion Hyder is good to go. In the history of things that don't surprise you, how little did this surprise you with our stock with Savion Hyder?
Not at all. I love that Kyle Whittingham brought it up completely unprompted, just talking about people at practice standing out, some of the younger ones. And he just like almost had to like take a breath and just be like, Savion Hyder is special. And hearing those words and then hearing reports from Sam Webb over at 24/7 just about how he is a combination of Jordan Marshall between the tackles and Justice Haynes in space made me spit out my drink. I did a spit take and look in a camera that wasn't there. I was like, what is this? I don't know how to handle this information. It's everything we wanted, but more. And it's tough. It's tough as like we're trying to project who's going to be the guy next year and the role they're going to have. But at least thankfully in Jason Beck's offense, it knows how to feed a lot of mouths.
I was sitting out in a field and read this on my phone, so I had to construct a wall that was of crude and poor quality so that I could run through it. I was like, I will run through a wall when I hear this. I was not surprised, but a wall was run through nonetheless. He's at 210 already at 6 foot, like ready to go right now. And then you just hear that little confirmation that, like, yep, everything you were seeing on tape is real. That's all I need, man. Like, carries are coming his way. What over under 850 yards
That's a great
this
number.
season?
I'm going
Yeah.
to I mean, I looked at Utah's numbers a lot in the offseason, and you could see the balance with the quarterback running. And with this plethora of talent in the backfield, I think Bryce's rushing numbers are either going to be the same or a little bit less because why
Interesting.
do it? Why do it? Why run them
Fair.
when you don't have to? Especially when you have a talent that is being described as special from a head coach who's seen everything in the sport. So I would go over.
I'm
I
going
think we're
over
going to
850.
I think we're gonna see it. I don't know if we're gonna see 1,000 and 1,000. Hasn't been done since 75, but this kind of offense, the amount of plays they like to run, it's certainly gonna give them a chance.
Absolutely, man. I'm hyped up. Also, I mean, this is more on the negative side, but not surprising. Again, there's going to be no John Henry Daly, no Rod Moore, or no Andy Babs for spring practice. I think that makes sense. The only one that maybe surprised me a little bit was Andy Babs. And then I guess Rod Moore would too, because he's healthy, then he's not. It's very ongoing. If it's precautionary, I would understand that. John Henry Daly makes perfect sense. I would have been very surprised if we saw him. But positively, sounds like he could be back by June. Like, so they're anticipating a full recovery and ready for the season. So any surprises there?
No, and for like Rod Moore, it doesn't bother me at all that whether it's precautionary or not means reading between the lines. A lot of that seems like it kind of is for him. Just be like, why don't we need to put the hits on him? Put the peg. He can still go through a lot here. No need to risk it. Just like get him healthy, get him to the season, get him confident because we saw there was no drop off with him mentally when he got into the Wisconsin and USC games last year. It's just making sure everything is good to go so we can have like one final run with Rod Moore in the back end.
More job. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be a great season. Let's get all those guys healthy. So I'm totally for this. Not going to really change anything as far as our spring game draft. We're going to draft them all up. We like to have fun in the spring game draft. So don't worry. I know some of you were concerned when you heard that. Last bit from Whittingham here that I had goes to your point earlier about why would you run Bryce if you don't have to? Sounds like there's a clear four at wide receiver that have separated themselves. And again, to kind of speaking of like what we were all talking about in the off season and in the months off, it's like we think we have a clear four. He's confirming, and it's the four that you would think. It is Marsh, it is Buchanan, it is French, and it is Moa. So I think that that's really exciting. And I mean, those are the four that we were looking forward to. Now the questions would have been like, do we buy French and do we buy Moa? So hearing that confirmation, I think is great.
Moa surprises me to
A
already
little
be in
bit.
the top four as a true freshman. Like, I mean, the added juice to this room compared to last season or compared to the last 2 years, if we're being honest, like just look at the difference from top to bottom. Like there is an emphasis on adding explosiveness and electricity to this room. And you got some different body types as well to mix in there. And Moa just already just jumping the Jamar Browders, Marion Stewart's, Channing Goodwins, Kendrick Bell, my boy, jumping over them with how good he can be already is very impressive.
I agree with you. And let's expand on this for just a moment. So Celeste Moa hitting, kind of like we were talking about Tommy Carr, like this could mean something for the offense, not only this year, but moving forward. If Moa's good to go and he's wide receiver number 4, what are the expectations for him? You could go statistics, you could go his usage. How are they going to use him? Like, is this guy going to be a real factor in this Michigan offense?
It appears so. And again, in this offense, a lot of mouths eat. So they're going to have an opportunity to get the ball and do some different things. I think we're going to see some stuff with end rounds. Like, I think you're going to get the ball in his hands in very safe ways. Like, Marsh is still the clear number one. Buchanan's the big body guy to help the kind of the hybrid tight end wide receiver. But Moa just having that electricity, like, and speed and everything in space, we could also see him be a factor in the return game. I think it's just one
Yes.
of the guys, similar to Hyder. You want the ball in his hands early to see what he can do.
And as far as ceiling, no way he's getting past Buchanan or Marsh, right? But
No,
could he get ahead of
I would be
French?
shocked. I think so. I think
He
I
could
mean,
get ahead of French.
I think we're just completely speculating now, but just based on like
Mhm.
recruiting profile and like him already just being this far advanced as a 3-month-old true freshman, I would say so.
And does it take an injury to see him on defense?
What number is he wearing? They released the numbers. I want to check that because Smith Snowden is wearing number 2, so he cannot play on that side of the ball because Shamari Earls wears number 2. I found that fascinating, or vice versa. It was one or the other. I forget what number it was,
Yeah.
but he can't
So
play. He can't
Snowden
play
can't have
offense.
two.
Yeah, he can't play offense, I believe is what it was. But yeah,
Yeah, that
Snowden,
would
yeah,
make more
that's what it
sense
was. He
because
can't play
Earls
offense.
has two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he might be 3 or something. Marsh is 3, so it was something like that. So I need to know what Moa's number is, but I think they're just going to keep him on offense. I mean, they
I think
could
so
test
too.
him on both sides of the ball, but there's such a need at wide receiver right now, and there's a good amount of depth at his quarter position.
I would agree with you there. All right, brother. Come on now. It's your time to shine. Michigan hockey, Big Ten champs. Talk to me about it.
Oh, brother, what a day Saturday was. Michigan hockey smokes Ohio State at Yost with the most goals ever scored in a Big Ten tournament championship game. TJ Hughes was named tournament most outstanding player. The team earned the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. Just win, win, win. Everything was coming up Michigan. They will face Bentley in the opening round of the NCAA tournament this Friday, right before the Michigan men play, actually. So they're going to play 5:30 p.m. I believe that's on ESPN2. So that game should conclude by the time the Michigan men tip off against Alabama, which we're going to get into shortly. So nice little appetizer to get you into it. Our region overall, I wish Shaft a little bit. Like, it's not the hardest region. Region for the Western Michigan and Denver region is just a region of death. Like, I'm so glad we're not there. But in ours, if we beat Bentley, as we should, we'll either play the winner of Minnesota Duluth and Penn State again. And I know it's hard to beat like a good team twice. How hard is it to beat a good team 5 times out of 6? Because that's what's
Ridiculous.
up against Michigan in this situation. If Penn State beats Minnesota Duluth, if we play UMD, it'll be tough. They probably have the best top line in college hockey with the Plant brothers, but they don't have the depth that Michigan does, and their goaltending is just not up to the caliber they need to make a run. So I hope they can upset Penn State because I just don't want to see that team again for the 6th time this season.
It's a great call out and something you've been bringing up with familiarity when talking about the NCAA men's tournament in basketball is that familiarity makes it just throws a monkey wrench into everything. So
Yeah.
it's a great call out, but hell of a win yesterday. They were actually down in that game, 5 unanswered, just an avalanche of goals. And then just like what a career from TJ Hughes. Like just if you were retiring college jerseys, you might have to consider it for TJ Hughes. What a run.
And he's not even, doesn't even have an NHL contract. Like he has not been drafted once. He has not signed. I think he's going to get signed and have an AHL offer out of this season. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be a finalist for the Hobie Baker.
Incredible stuff, man. Yeah, so that's a tough draw, but I expect that Norato's going to have these guys ready to go and he'll have a plan. He'll look forward, if need be, to that Penn State matchup, which I agree with you. I don't love that kind of familiarity, but it is what it is, man. All right, let's move to women's basketball after a dominant win over NC State yesterday. Just added to the day of Bailey, really. I mean, just great stuff for you. 92-63 in that one. Talk to me about it, man.
Just a tremendous weekend overall for the women. I mean, first they beat Holy Cross by a million, more or less, thanks to 20 points from Mila Holloway. And then they come into this NC State game and they have control early, but then NC State kind of creeps their way back in. It's only a 2-point game at half. Olivia Olson's playing terrible, doesn't have a point in the first half, but then they just explode coming out of the break for 4 second half points. Olson finishes with 27. Silas Swords finishes with 26. The duo's just cooking at a high level. They mixed in the press in the second half. Brooke Horace Daniels was fantastic in that, just turning the team over. And They're on a roll, man. I mean, they make the Sweet 16 for the third time under Kim Barnes-Arico, and if they beat Louisville, who they're scheduled to match up with in the Sweet 16, they will tie the program's furthest ever run in the NCAA tournament, reaching the Elite Eight, which was only matched by the Nas Hillman team just a few years ago.
Crazy stuff, man. So it would be 2-seed Michigan versus 3-seed Louisville. And then after that, you're getting the winner of Texas, Kentucky. Texas is the 1 seed. Extremely, extremely talented team. Do you see that as kind of the ceiling for where this team could go?
Yes, I think Michigan can legitimately beat Louisville. Louisville's a great team. They're very tough. They eliminated Michigan in that Elite Eight run a couple years ago, so very familiar with them and what they're doing. But Texas, if I just don't think they can match up with Texas on the inside. Like, I think it's just like a bridge too far this season. They've shown they can play anybody tight. They played Vanderbilt, UCLA, and UConn in one possession, so they'll certainly be in that game. I just don't think they have enough to get over the hump in that one. But again, when you have two dynamic scorers like Olsen and Silas Soares, if you can get a one possession game, especially in the women's game where it's so much better how you can advance the ball with timeouts like the NBA does, it gives you a chance to have one of those shooters make something dramatic happen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add, is that you just got to find a way to keep it close and then hope for some of that miracle juice to get on you there, because we talked about it a little bit last week in the women's game, like the differences in talents. There's pretty clear tiers, and these top tier teams, and you've mentioned it a bunch of times that it's closing, but there's still a gap.
Yeah, it's like you have UConn, South Carolina, Texas, CLA, LSU, Vanderbilt. It's like we're right there on the fringe to just break through. Like Michigan's kind of in a group with Louisville and a few others, and it's like it's right there. They can do it, but just to imagine that they're going to beat Louisville, Texas, and then get with the big women in the final 4 rounds just seems to be just a little bit too far this season, but it's not going to be too distant, man. This is the group that can, I mean, you hang banners for Final Fours in college basketball, and I would be shocked if this team does not do it, whether it be this year with a miraculous 2-game stretch next weekend, next season, or the year after, because lest we forget, this trio of stars are only sophomores.
Your best players are young. Exactly. If you wanted any, like, how could we get past this upcoming team? It's like maybe the breakout's happening right now. And after a game like that, you could talk yourself into that. You could say that, like, we're leveling up with these young stars. So, all right, man, let's take a break. Obviously, we have a lot of basketball to talk about when we come back. We're going to talk about the run to the Sweet 16 for this Michigan men's team, talk about it from all angles, the games that were and the games that are yet to come. We'll be back right after this. All right, we are back. We are righteous men. College basketball is very good, and very good indeed. After Michigan advances to the Sweet 16, there was a little trepidation. There was a little nervousness from me after a season as great as we had in the regular season, that anything up until this would have been really devastating if we didn't make it to the Sweet 16. Like, without at least Sweet 16, this feels like an absolute letdown. So now I can take a breath. It feels like maybe a little weight off your shoulders win. How do you feel about that?
Well, you and I discussed this when we did that exercise just a few weeks ago, talking about like how some of the best regular season Michigan teams, like the 2019 team, didn't perform as well in the postseason. I mean, they also reached the Sweet 16, but they didn't have quite the regular season success that this team did. But you have to have a run. You have to sustain something, because look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin had a great regular season. No one's ever going to talk about it because of their first round. And Michigan came in at one of their lowest lows all season, coming off that loss to Purdue in the Big Ten championship.
Quote Abraham Lincoln in the immaculate film Lincoln, just like, a compass will show you true north, but it has no advice about the chasms and deserts you're like to experience along the way. What good is it to plunge forward true north and then ultimately drown in a swamp? And he's right, man. Like, what good would it have done us to do all of that and then just get knocked out by St. Louis? Had to happen, dude. Had to happen. So now you can breathe a little bit. Difficult matchup, obviously, coming up with Alabama that we're going to talk about. But, you know, at least you can say good season. Really, really good. You might even be able to say great season if it were to end here.
Tied the program record for wins in a season. Already matched right now.
Yes.
So it's the tied for the winningest season in Michigan basketball history. I believe it's tied with the 2018 squad that reached the final. So it's like they're already building from this. I do think, again, I think this team, for me personally, has to get the Elite Eight, because the path lined up so nicely. We're going to talk about the Tide and what they present in terms of a problem, but I think they have one more in it. But just getting those first two in such dominant fashion makes you feel great entering weekend two.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the games getting there. Before we do, Michigan into the Sweet 16, six of the Sweet 16 teams, all from the Big Ten: Illinois, Purdue, Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, Iowa, all alive. It's tied for the second most any conference has had in the Sweet 16, behind 2025 SEC, which sent seven. It's been incredible stuff from the Big Ten. And people were kind of down on it, like saying, oh, is it actually Big 12? Is it ACC? We never wavered. We never doubted. Come on now. And what does that say about the regular season of this Michigan men's basketball team if this was the kind of competition they were up against?
You mean for a Michigan basketball team that won the conference by 4 games? I would
That
say it's
one.
one of the best regular seasons we've ever seen at high major college basketball.
Insane stuff, man. Insane stuff. So the path to get here obviously had the Howard Bison, the 1 seed versus the 16 seed there. Early on, made you sweat a little bit, but I never felt too nervous. This one ends 101-80, but it's tied, or is it a 1 point game
2-point
going into the
game.
half? Yeah, like a 2 point game going into the half. Our producer, Tony, as he's wont to do, absolutely losing his mind in the group chat. Shout out to Tony. But I get it. They were making everything. It kind of felt like one of those games where it was just like, is a shot not going to go in this? And then things really shifted in the second half. Dusty May comes out second half of this one with a full court press. And I think it was just a masterful move. The energy shifted and Michigan started to assert their dominance.
Yeah, Howard made 14 threes in the game and cooled down to only make 48% of their threes throughout. Entering the second
Insane.
half, I believe they were shooting at 65%. And again, Howard, sneaky tough team, because there's some guys on that team that have been with that program for 3 years and made 3 NCAA tournaments. They haven't had the success, but they have that experience, that camaraderie is irreplaceable. So they came in game, gave Michigan all they could handle in the first half, but then in the second half, it just kind of it wore them out. Michigan was consistent in both halves, and I think that was a theme that extended into the next game as well against Howard. 50 first half points, 51 in the second half. We're going to talk about St. Louis, but it was 48 points in the first half, 47 in the second. A team can give you their best punch, but can they give you their best punch for 60 minutes?
Exactly, man. And to talk about players in both of these games that we're going to talk about, you'll want to single guys out, but it's going to be very difficult. Like, because there has been multiple performances that need to be discussed here. In this one, I think Burnett and Gale really showed like why they can be such elite glue guys. You get 14 from Gale and you get 15 from Burnett. Burnett is 3 of 4 from downtown, 5 of 6 overall. Roddy Gale, 6 of 7 from
March Roddy.
overall. And yep, and then 2 of 3 from 3 point range. Not to be outdone, Morez Johnson had one of the most absurd stat lines I've ever seen. He goes 8 for 8 with 10 rebounds. Absolute perfection from him. Crazy stuff. Imposing their will on the inside there. And yeah, man, all 5 Michigan starters scored in double figures and blocked a shot. It's the first time that's happened in an NCAA tournament game since we started keeping track of it. So incredible stuff. Pick any player you want. Let's talk about him.
And so you did even mention Adai Mara, who had 19, 7 boards, 6 assists, and 3 blocks.
It's crazy. Yeah, like I can't mention them all in one breath. So let's talk about them all.
It's just insane, man. But again, I think it's a theme that we're seeing in the tournament. It's not just that size matters; it's how you use your size. And Florida was a little bit more finesse and trying to get their guys in space and move around, which creates its own problems. But when you have your bigs being bigs and being assertive in the paint, with Mara and Johnson combining in this game for 40 points on 16 of 18 shootings,
That's stupid. That's stupid, by
17
the way.
boards and 4 blocks, like. That's so hard to overcome. And that size is going to be a theme continuing into the next round against Alabama. But I think I buried the lead here, to be honest. And you talked about him already. We were kind of having a funeral for Mojo last week following the Purdue game. And it was
Yep.
good to see him come back to form, and not just to form, come back with a vengeance, man, because this was the guy we'd seen all season.
And it really felt like vindication, a guy that I was saying was underrated for much of the year. And that performance to me felt like, I mean, that was better than anything I've
Best
seen.
game
That
he's
was the
played
best.
since Illinois, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the best game. Yeah, exactly. Illinois, he really showed up for. And he's engaged and he has that give a shit to him. Morez Johnson is one of the most impactful players in the country. And when you put him next to an Adai Mara, this should be teach tape for whoever drafts these guys like at the next level. Like, because this is set up perfectly. Like, you put Morez Johnson next to a big center and he can go out there and like if that center can shoot a little bit too, even better. It works perfectly for me. Now, I think he should come back for another year, but that's a conversation for another podcast. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it. And like kind of a lesser Yaxel game, but like he has such a great feel and knows like when he's needed. His defense still carried over in that game. He only had 9, but you didn't need it because very clearly in the second half, Dusty May said, guys, we're just bigger than them. Like, we're not going to play this game that they're trying to force us to play. Let's go win this thing inside. And the bigs took care of it.
Yeah, they just imposed their will. I mean, they held Howard to 34 second half points, and they were lucky to even get that many. And he talked about how the press really initiated that, and that goes to what Yaxel Lindenborg can do. Like, it's different when you have a press on with a 6'1" guard. But when you have a 6'9" guy that can move like a guard, I don't know how many times I've watched the team this year, and I keep forgetting that Yaxel is 6'9" and what he can do, and like
They're
taking
putting
it for
him on
granted.
point guards.
I
They're
know.
putting him on point guards this season, like reliably. You'll see it.
He can guard 1 to 5 serviceably.
Yeah, in
Like,
college. Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly what he can bring to this team and help out and just fill those gaps. Like, all right, we need something more here. He can fill that up. We need somebody to throw an entry pass here. He can do that as well. Has such a good feel for the game. Still, there's some stretches in the middle. Sometimes you wish he'd be a little bit more assertive, but there's never a stretch when you're like, too much, Yaxel, too much. He's almost always making the right basketball.
One game ball who gets it, we're going Mojo, right? I mean, that's pretty statistically
It's got to be Mojo, leading
unimpeachable.
scorer, not missing his shot. But again, you talked about my boy Roddy Gale, man, coming in and just playing like he does in March. Like he just brings that calming presence and just finds a way to just be such a slasher and a cutter and do the little things and get down in the paint and do things on defense that every team needs. So I love seeing him just once again raise his level when the team needs it the most.
And we didn't mention Cadeau, but I've just greatly enjoyed the Cadeau experience this year. You're going to look at 4 of 10 and you're going to be like, oh, really? You're talking about Cadeau for 12 points, but he has such high usage, man. And 7 assists to 2 turnovers. That's good stuff for me. I'll take that.
Made 9 against Howard.
Am I misreading this? No, I've got him at 7 assists. Or excuse me, I'm on to St. Louis already. No,
I
you're
was
right.
like, brother, he had 9 assists. I'm looking right at it.
Whoa, I'm looking right at it. I'm already ahead to St. Louis, which it is time to transition to. So I wasn't wrong just early, baby. Let's talk about the St. Louis game, where I think some Michigan fans were a little more nervous coming into this. You and I felt pretty good about it. There was, the one matchup. The only thing I didn't like was that they were the darlings. They had the guy everybody liked, and it's like everyone's going to be rooting for him. And you don't want to be up against that one guy, like the Loyola that becomes the great story. But other than that, who we also beat, but also like other than that, basketball wise, this one didn't worry me because of our size, but it didn't end up necessarily just being the size. This was an attitude win. This was a Yaxel Lendenborg. We are not going down in this one. This one ain't happening. This was a Dusty May masterclass. This was a thorough belt to ass game against St. Louis.
Well, Joe Schertz, the St. Louis head coach, and Dusty May are really good friends. Like they know everything about each other. Their offense is our offense. Like everything about this team, it was like looking at a mirror, just a smaller version. And I get some fans being a little bit scared and nervous because St. Louis did hang 102 on Georgia the night before.
Beat the hell out of them.
Beat the hell out of Georgia. So putting a 25-point win on tape and then coming into this next game, there's some momentum there. But just the way Michigan adjusted in the second half against Howard and the way they used that size made me feel great in this one. And once again, just beat them up. Beat them up on the inside. They out-rebounded them 42-27. I don't even know how it was that close. It felt like anytime they pulled a rebound, I was going to be surprised by it. And they were just consistent throughout, like I mentioned at the top, just having that steady performance through in and throughout. And we did not have to worry about Yaxel looking for his way in this one because he made his presence known early and often.
Boy, I'm gonna put a pin in that. We're gonna talk about Yaxel Lendenborg in this one. Yeah, early on in this one, when Avila couldn't get things going from 3, and then he got into early foul trouble, I pretty much had it wrapped up in my mind after that. I'm like, if this guy's in foul trouble and his 3 isn't dropping, they don't really have a way to hang with Michigan in this one. Even when they're sharpshooters, we're still hitting some 3s, making it like keeping it close. And there is this thing when you watch Michigan. I mean, this is the nitpickiest of nitpick that like whenever they start to go on a run, there'll be like a bad turnover and it'll be like, man, we could have gotten it to 11 there. Now it's back within 6. And you're like, man, okay, come on now. Let's put the boot to the throat.
You feel the elastic pulling, but then it comes right back. It just hasn't snapped yet.
Right back. And usually it happens after the half where Dusty May has a chance to come in and really draw things up. And having a coach of his level in this tournament makes me feel so much better. We'll talk about the Alabama game where the competition's going to step up, but how many coaches are better than Dusty May that are left in this thing? It'd be an interesting discussion and something that I'd certainly argue for my guy pretty deep into it as well. But yeah, man, where do you want to go with this one? Because this was another one where you could pick any player on the roster and say something great about him.
This reaches to both games. Michigan had 47 assists across 2 games, and I believe they only had 11 or minimal amount of turnovers, which is incredible because of how fast this team plays and gets up and down the court. But to that point, the way Michigan's offense was able to feed the post without losing rhythm and flow is so hard to do. That's why you don't see post play as much anymore. It's not because players are soft or anything like that. It's because it breaks the rhythm down. Like guys start standing around, it's hard to get good movement and good spacing with that. But Michigan was able to feed the post with Mara and with Marez Johnson over and over again without getting out of rhythm of their offense. And that is so impressive.
Dude, also, how fun was this game? I wrote this down. When you go back and want to rewatch a game from this season just to like feel the good feelings, was this maybe the number one draft pick? Would it be it'd be a top 3 draft pick for sure of most enjoyable games. They're yamming everything, they're blocking everything. I mean, everything is getting turned away at the rim. You've got multiple highlights. You've got the Yaxel Lendenborg absolute poster that went viral. You also have another viral moment of Adar Mara just psyching out the tournament darling Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, making him just lost. Needed a map, brother did. And yeah, man, this is a fun game. I was having a blast watching it. I was yelling my ass off. I mean, to have all of that happening, coaching masterclass, players stepping up, to have like the defense turned on like that, shot making. This was a wire to wire win that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I would rank it pretty high on my list of favorite victories of the season.
Yeah, Michigan's the only number 1 seed not to be in a game under 5 points with under 5 minutes left, because Utah State took Arizona to the brink last night, and we saw Florida get upset, and we saw Duke in round 1 almost get knocked out by Siena. And it's what you want to see a dominant team do against an inferior opponent. You want to just smother them, get them out of there. And it felt very reminiscent to the tournament in Vegas earlier this year, where Michigan just went there, took care of business, didn't get panicked when the game was tight. Nobody like got into too much me basketball. It stayed about the team. It stayed about the flow of the offense. Dusty May made the right tweaks at the right time, and they were just able to clobber both teams.
Silly stuff, man. 9 blocks in this game, just ridiculous stuff from them on defense in the paint. And it wasn't just Mara and Mojo, it was Yaxel. I mean, it was the size that really showed up there. A player we haven't really talked about yet that I wanted to mention here, Trey McKinney. I think his confidence, his energy, and his ability and desire to go get his own shot is going to show up. Now, didn't need it against Howard or St. Louis. We're going to need it at some point, whether that's
Yes.
Alabama, whether Iowa State. I'm
Yep.
kind of, if Jefferson's coming back, I got my eyes on that one. We're going to need it at some point, and I'm glad to see that he has that green flag. Like, let's go get a bucket.
You know what you didn't miss in either game? LJ Kaysen. And that's because of Trey McKinney. Trey McKinney
Yeah.
has really grown into this role, playing out of position. He's more of a natural 2 guard, but playing in that backup 1 and then sometimes playing in the 2 alongside Cadeau, he seems a lot more comfortable and confident, regardless of what role he's playing. And that's a huge burden to put on a true freshman, but he's just getting there. He understands that the team really believes in him. You can tell Dusty's just instilled so much belief in him that he goes out there and doesn't play nervous or scared. Does he still screw up? Yes, especially on defense, but also offensively. He had a few turnovers against St. Louis and Howard. It's like, okay, come on. But you live with that because these are growing pains, and the good far exceeds the bad. And I think we're seeing some of the best ball he's played all season.
Yeah, man. And you don't want to discourage that,
No.
because especially with Kaysen out, like we need a guy that's like, dude, we're putting you in to go get shots. Like
Yep.
we're obviously not putting you in there for stops. Like go in there and take the shot, man. Like if it's a step back, I would prefer it wasn't, but like you're the guy we want taking that over a lot of other guys. And like we need some type of offense. And it's gonna happen where Michigan's offense stalls out, and we need that. He will be on the short list of players in the nation next year that you're really watching to be like, okay, what kind of leap can this guy take? Because extremely high ceiling for him.
And
So
What I like, one last thing I like about his defense is he's not Darius Acuff on defense. The effort is there, and I think the mind is going to catch up sooner than later.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Your hatred for Acuff on defense is well noted, and you're not wrong. But my God, can that dude play some offense?
That creep can score, but speaking of defense, Adai is now one block away from tying Ron Tarpley's 40-year-old program record for blocks in a season.
I mean, a record we're all watching weekly. I mean,
This guy
who
is
among us? Yeah,
40
I know you
years
are.
for blocks? That's
That's
crazy.
crazy. No, no, I'm not gonna discredit that. That is insane, and it really shows up. The Mount Mara moniker has been there. He was a stud. He was a stud this week over both of those guys, and gonna need to keep it going against a much more athletic Alabama team. Before we get to that, Michigan makes it to the Sweet 16, obviously. In their last 7 NCAA tournament appearances, they've made the Sweet 16 every single time. That's 2017, 18, 19, 21, 24, 25, and now 2026. Take a bow, Michigan Wolverines. Like, if you get there, you make it count. That's impressive stuff there. They've also tied a program record with 33 wins, 33-3, chance to set the record against Alabama on Friday. Again, take a bow. What a freaking season.
Yeah, like you and I talked about, like leading up to this, the pressure and nerves on this. Getting this far is an achievement. You have to celebrate that. Now, this team has the talent to get further, and we don't want to give them an out here. But like
No.
again, take a minute, realize these are the good times and how special this team is. Especially when you
Yep.
look at a team like Florida who lost to Iowa.
Yeah. I mean, but they won a natty last year. So you get a natty.
They
You
did,
can,
but it can get ripped. It can get ripped out from you. Wisconsin, like that's the thing about the NCAA tournament. So we never want to take runs to the Sweet 16 for granted.
No, I agree, but I mean, how much goodwill did the 2023 national championship buy our hearts? My heart is content, brother. I myself, I am tranquil. in
I'm
football.
tranquil, but I always want more.
You're greedy. You
It's
and
the
Tony are both
Tom Brady. It's like,
gluttons.
what championship's your favorite? The next one.
The next one. Yeah, you gluttons, but you're winners. I love it.
Winners.
For me, I'm a peaceful man. Like, I got my 2023. I can die in a plane crash tomorrow. Ideally, not a plane crash, but like
Good God, dude.
mauled by a water buffalo like next week. Fine. That's
Speaking
and
of water,
likely.
speaking of water buffaloes, a couple things you want to see Michigan clean up entering the Sweet 16.
Turnovers, but I mean, really not that big of a problem. That's more of a season long thing. Like, really take care of the ball, make that a continued focus there. Stopping the early runs. So I guess perimeter defense in the first half,
I
really
literally have
close out.
those 4 words written out. First half perimeter defense.
Close out on the shooters early on. Don't be like, we're going to be good in the second half. We'll take care of it. No. Put the boot to throat immediately. And like there's going to be a game where your threes aren't falling. Michigan has shot extremely well so far in this tournament. Like, that is going to even out. There's going to be a game where it's played in the high 60s, low 70s. So
Yeah.
you're going to need to close out, and every point's going to matter. And I mean, if it's not next week or the week after that, it'll certainly be against Arizona.
And I think it's going to hit really, if they get past Alabama, Iowa State in that defense. And that brings me to the other thing I want to see them clean up, and that's free throws. They've missed 11 free throws across the first 2 games. And as the games get tighter and the scores get lower and the defense gets cranked up on both sides, especially as the talent gets a little bit more equal, like you said, every point's going to count.
I'm with you, man. So upcoming, it's going to be number 4 Alabama Sweet 16 game this Friday. Alabama, who will be without Aiden Holloway, out due to prison. Bama shot. Bama was 19 of 42 from 3 against Texas Tech. They will put it up. Senior guard Latrell Wrightsell was 6 of 9 from 3. They got LeBaron Filan, who's moved around a little bit. I was told LeBaron Filan was going to be like the next big thing. I think LeBaron Filan is a thing. He's pretty good. It doesn't necessarily scare me. What do you think about this Alabama team? How do you feel about this matchup, even with no Aiden Holloway?
This is an elite offensive team. I mean, they can light it up with anybody. They're the nation's highest scoring team in terms of points per game. They're number 3 on Ken Palm. They can put up 100 without even blinking an eye. They're very efficient under Nate Oates. It's very similar to Michigan, but it's even more of an extreme. Threes or rim shots, not even paint shots, rim shots. That's it. So they're either getting to the rim or they're chucking up threes, and a lot of times it's the 3 ball. And if the 3 is falling, they're one of the toughest teams to beat. Defensively, this team is terrible. They are 60th in Ken Palm on defense. They're, I believe, like 358 in terms of opponents of points per game allowed. So they really struggle to stop anybody on that side of the ball. I comp them to in Big Ten parlance. It's Illinois on offense and Washington on defense, because that's exactly how they open the floodgates on either end of the court. So although they can fill it up with anybody, they have trouble blowing teams out because they struggle to get stops.
Yeah, no, great points all. And I was talking down about Phylon. He's still third in the SEC in scoring at almost 22 points a game. He's fourth in assists at 5 assists a game. And on the defensive side, I agree with you, kind of a sieve, but they do have the SEC leader in blocks in Aiden Sherrill, the 6'10 sophomore forward. So there's really just one guy there. So if you can shut off the water of LeBaron Phylon in this one, I feel so great about this. And now Cadeau, probably if there was someone you were going to, actually not probably, if there's someone you're going to attack on the Michigan defense, it is Cadeau. But that's not necessarily, Dusty May's not going to let that happen. And Phylon does a lot of his work in the paint, and Michigan has owned the paint up to this point here. So, I mean, Phylon pretty good from three. What's he shooting from three? He's at 39.7% from three this year. It is on volume. Like, he'll get him up there. And, it's going to be, is Phylon hitting his shots? Is Wrightsell hitting his shots? So what you were talking about, first half perimeter defense, I think really matters in this game. Like, don't let their guards get up a bunch of uncontested threes. Like, if they want to try and win this game in the paint, by all means, like, go for it. But you just can't let those two guys get up a bunch of threes early on uncontested.
In terms of their tops in minutes, I know Aiden Holloway's out, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players in their top 8 that shoot around 33 or higher percent from 3-point line. So they're going
They'll
to try
get
to
it
get
up, man.
those shots up. And we've seen the issues before with Wisconsin and Nebraska games during the regular season. Those teams can give Michigan fits, but what makes me feel really good is we just played a team that made 14 threes and it didn't matter. If Michigan continues to exploit their advantage in the paint and knock down open shots, they're going to be a very tough out. I do think turnovers are going to be essential in this one. It seems kind of obvious, but like, you just don't want to give these shooters more chances to get in a rhythm. I think if Michigan were to just run them off the 3-point line, like, we're just going to give up no good threes in this game, force them to the paint, funnel them inside. I think that's a great chance to win. Now, you run the risk of getting in some foul trouble that way, putting so much pressure on your bigs. But I think if you play the numbers game like that, Alabama's going to get too greedy and just start chucking up more bad shots.
Yeah, and losing Holloway is a big deal for them, man. That's a bigger deal
Shoots
than losing
44% from three.
16 points a game.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a bigger deal than us losing Kaysen because
Yes.
A, we're a deeper team to start with, and B, like, that's more like losing mojo for us
Yes.
as far as just like an impact to what they do. So they're down a man. Credit to them for this run to get up to this point, but Michigan is going to be deeper. Do you think like Michigan's going to be able to want to use, maybe not be able to, but want to use their depth in this one? Do you see as much Cheddar, Gale, McKinney in one like this, or do you really ride your starters? Like Mara feels like one you've got to get a blow here and there. Just from what I've seen, it's not a conditioning thing. It's just the nature of what he's doing down there in the paint, and he's
Yeah.
playing really both ends.
Both
Like this
ends.
guy, he's playing both ends, so
Well,
he's gonna have to get a blow, but.
Dusty's done a great job getting him a sub before the first under 4 timeout, before the under 16. He's been subbing him out pretty early, getting Roddy Gale on the court, changing it up. No, I think you rely on what got you here. You keep up with the depth, and you let the depth kind of get to Alabama, especially on the interior. They have the one elite shot blocker, but they do not have the depth on the inside that Michigan does. And if you can start attacking them there and then come at them in waves, that's how you keep the consistency up, and that's how you wear it on these opponents in the second half. It's very much like running the football in football, like running the ball in football. Like, there's a correlation.
I love it, man. And I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, when you have a strength, play to that strength.
Yeah.
Even with Kaysen out, our strength is still our depth and our size. Actually, we have this team's so good. We have 10 strengths. I mean, there's
a lot.
It'd be easier to point out weaknesses than it would be strengths. It'd be a shorter conversation. So I'm with you there. I've enjoyed the Cheddar minutes. I've enjoyed the McKinney minutes. I've enjoyed the Gale minutes. I mean, I think he's got it dialed in. I mean, hell, we've seen Oscar Goodman minutes that have been pretty solid in this run here. So I don't really know. I'm not big on predictions for these types of games because it seems like a fool's errand. It's a little harder to predict because, like, if our shots are falling, this could be 101 to 75, but like, I just don't know whose shots are going to be falling on any given day. But looking at it a little bit more, I feel like we're going to be okay because it's going to be up to them, like having like you mentioned, like a great 3-point shooting day and us not being able to overcome that. No way Michigan's entire offense is going cold. Like I don't think. I don't think. I think somebody's going to have a good day, and it's just a question of can you get that second, third guy? Can you get a glue guy that can give you 8? To get this thing above 65, be in the 70s, 80s, where I think we'll be fine.
So when I look at Alabama's schedule, just for consistencies across the board, how they performed against higher ranked teams, in their wins, they have some good wins, obviously. They beat St. John's by 7, they beat Illinois by 4 very early in the season. A lot of their good wins are very close, but some of their losses get a little more lopsided. They lost to Gonzaga by 10, they lost to Arizona by 21, they lost to Florida by 23. I mean, even in the SEC tournament, you saw the variance come back in from the 3-point shot. They lost to Georgia by 10, a Georgia team that just got destroyed by St. Louis in round 1 with a week to prepare. So, like, you can see that variance. So, no matter what, even if they have their best day, I feel confident that's going to be a close game. And I trust Michigan to find a way to execute, especially inside late.
Yeah, no, I mean, they've gotten over 100 points a couple times this season, including against Clemson, Maryland, and UNLV. Excuse me, Clemson, they only hung 90, but I mean, right before that, it was 97. South Florida, 104. Yale, they put up 102. They're in the 90s a bunch.
Yale.
Look, say what you will about those smart creeps, not known for defending the paint. So this team can fill it up, man. And like it is the kind of team that I could see if you're a Michigan fan, you're like, don't like that. But they're gonna have to play almost their best game of basketball that they've played all year. Because Michigan is going to be like a fully engaged Michigan that is like from first whistle engaged and like this game matters and we're taking every possession seriously, which starting at the Sweet 16, I think you will see. There was a little bit, I will say, against Howard of lackadaisical on defense early on. St. Louis, that lackadaisical nature was done much earlier in the game. Starting Sweet 16, it's opening whistle.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be any drop off in this. When you saw it last year with the team and Dusty May coming out against Auburn, the number 1 overall seed, and hanging right in that game, being only down 1 point at half and being up I believe, as much as almost 15. I think it was somewhere between 10 and 15 in the second half before Auburn turned it on, and we just had no answer for Johnny Broom on the inside. But I think this is a very favorable for matchup because of Michigan's balance on both ends of the court. You don't like giving predictions this one. I feel very comfortable that Michigan's going to win by double digits. It's what they've done all season. This team has too big of a glaring weakness on the defensive side of the ball to overcome that in this matchup.
Yeah, I just wouldn't even know where to go, and it feels foolhardy. Like if I were good at giving predictions, I'd be way better at the brackets and all that stuff, and I would be betting more. Like the variance is crazy. So I feel good about Michigan winning, whether it's by 10 or whether it's by 18 or hell, I mean, this could be one that if it's in the low 70s, like high 60s, that's Alabama's range to win this one. Is nobody on Michigan's making shots. And it's like Yaxel has 9, Mojo has 8, Mara has 6. And it's like we've scraped and clawed our way to 68, and it's something like 70 to 68. But if Michigan's making shots, our defense is so much better than theirs. I'm totally with you.
I think even if we drag them down into the mud, that's where Michigan's going to find some success because I believe Alabama only has 1 win all season when they score less than 80 points.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. That's more just like a big picture how I see Michigan losing one of these games. Is
That's
our
the Iowa
offense
State
grinds to a
conversation.
halt. Yeah. I mean, we're
That's
not
an
going to
Iowa
get
State
there yet
conversation.
because we don't count our chickens until they're clucking, and they're not quite there yet, my friend. But this has been awesome. Great sports week. Great performance so far. I really don't have any nitpicks of the performance up to this point, man. And the bracket sets up well for us. And there's been some upsets, outside of the tournament. Not as crazy as some other years outside of our bracket. Florida going down to Iowa. We kind of touched on that. But it sets up well all the way to Arizona, man.
It's been a really good tournament so far, at least even if you're not getting the complete Cinderella story, you're getting a lot of competitive games. And I feel like there's way more competitive games than there are blowouts this season. I know that was a huge knock last year. And I love it. I love seeing a lot of just different flaws in each team's little bit of cracks in the foundation. And Michigan just keeps on rolling. So it's really been the best of both worlds from viewership.
Now, if you're a real sicko, keep an eye out. Watch the tournament games, potential transfers into Michigan next year. There's going to be a lot of outgoing talent, like guys that maybe take an early exit that are on a team that's like nobody's really paying attention to. I'm looking at positions down at the forward and center.
It's when
in
Dusty May
particular.
met with Elliot Cadeau last year.
Exactly. So just
Yep.
something to keep an eye on. Obviously we've got everything ahead of us still, including a potential national championship. But some of these players that are getting early exits, I mean, if you're a real sicko, I mean, like maybe you need help. You're probing into the NIT to see what's going on over there. But I mean, honestly, I can't even say I recommend that as one of the biggest sports fans out there.
It's like you're the biggest basketball sicko I know on the planet, and you're not even doing that. But hey, season ain't over yet.
Season ain't over yet. Little Pistons corner before we go out. Cade Cunningham out for an extended period of time with a punctured lung, just short of what he needed to get to all NBA, MVP conversation, really any of the season awards. Really dumb criteria as a player that really felt like he was one of the most important players in the NBA this year. I am maybe too close to it, and maybe I'm too like galaxy brained with it. I got a bad feeling about this Pistons run, and that maybe this one will end with a little bit of that disappointment we were talking about. Like, had Michigan lost to St. Louis, it feels a great season that ends in tragedy, stuck in a swamp, as Abe Lincoln would say. I don't know. How do you feel about the Pistons' chances here to make a run in the playoffs?
Not great. I mean, how can
No,
anybody? I'm trying to be the beacon of optimism, but when you said Cade Cunningham out with collapsed lung, I thought it was going to be Jared out, mauled by bear. He tried to fight. It's like,
yep,
it's how I feel where it's getting with this team right now. And listen, Cunningham can still get healthy. Collapsed lung is nothing you want
not
to
great.
see, but he can come back from it and still perform at a high level. But you just wonder about how much is going to be on his shoulders. Can Duran take another step? Can some role players ascend in the postseason? Can they just avoid the damn Hornets in the first round? would
Yeah.
be that would be ideal. But again, like it's not, it feels doom and gloom right now because you're in the thick of it. Like you get this team into the playoffs, you get past the team, and then it's okay, now we're in rhythm. We can keep it going from here. The Pistons are still a tough team to beat 4 games out of 7.
Absolutely, man. And I'm not like packing it in already. No,
I know
I,
you're
I
not.
mean, I will be dialed in come game one, Cade Cunningham or no Cade Cunningham. Like that's how it is for the Pistons. But not only are you going to get stung with this 65 game things once, and that he's not going to be eligible for all the accolades. He was eligible for him last year, so he got the full max, deservedly so. Now Jalen Duran is going to get in, and Jalen Duran is going to take $228 million, and you're going to be paying, what is that, 60% of your salary to two players, and one of them's a center that really only puts up the numbers he does because of the other guy you're paying, because Cade Cunningham is the player he is. So not trying to be doom and gloom, but as you and I are big fans of roster construction, I see some real challenges for the Pistons with the current roster to get through the East, and with building out this roster around Cade Cunningham for hopefully a title in this run. That's what you hope for, man, is one title with your great star player to build around. Like you and I never thought we'd get one with Michigan football, and we were fortunate enough to get one. Haven't gotten it for the Lions. Some other places I have, but like, if you don't get it here, you're back in the wilderness, baby. So I think that the Pistons need to treat this with utter seriousness.
Don't you love a league that just penalizes a team for drafting 2 superstars and
So dumb.
developing them?
So dumb, dude. Yeah, we're absolutely going to get penalized, and like, we're not going to be able to afford anyone else because we have to pay Jalen Duran 35% of the salary
It
cap.
it just makes you wonder if the GM's the right person for the job, because you look at how Brad Stevens continues to maneuver with the Celtics. And like,
Yeah.
I know everybody talks about our boy out in Oklahoma City, but Brad Stevens and his just shell game of moving around contracts and always finding a way out and keeping the balance has been nothing short of masterful. I hate the Celtics, so it pains me to say that, but I respect
Me
the
too.
game.
Well, I mean, they're paying 2.3 million to their center, who is probably not that much better than Jalen Duran, and we're about to pay him 228.
Yeah, and they just
So
nail
just
every draft pick that happens late. They just have such an eye for talent. It's just like, God. And then you get Derek
Mhm.
White on such a friendly contract. It's like, I would love, if we had Derek White on this team, I'd feel great.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yep. Yeah.
just having that
There's level
secondary
to it, man.
score.
There's levels to it, and yeah, we'll see. You might be out for some of the early playoff
Yes.
conversations that we have. I might be rolling solo there for a while. Totally understandable. You'll have to deal with me, which I don't envy you as a listener, but we'll get
Yeah,
through it.
you've done the solo pods before, and I can assure the listener they are a tremendous, tremendous listen.
You got to watch your saliva build up in a solo podcast.
Dude, solo
Trust me on
pod's
that one.
hard. I mean, at least you have Tony here
It's
now
not
that like you
easy.
can bounce some things off of, because you've solo pod a few times and I've been traveling for other reasons and just held it down. I mean, it's very like Russillo sultry tones, just talking about your life and travel and Michigan running the ball down Western Michigan's throat.
You are going to get so many Lincoln quotes. I'm just going to be rewatching Lincoln like bi-weekly, and you're going to be getting like, what good is True North if you plunge headfirst into a swamp?
You have this Lincoln corner where you just read things in that voice. Run
Just
the
like you
damn
think,
ball.
like you think Lincoln was a boxer. He was a wrestler, took it to the ground at 6'4". Very surprising. Very surprising.
He's controlling where the fight takes place. That's rule number one. Dictate it on your terms.
Absolutely. That's why I fought that water bison in a Walmart, not in a zoo. Not on his turf.
Not on his turf.
Man, all right, brother. Anything else from you? Anything else we need to touch on? Versus Alabama this Friday. Make sure you're tuned in.
Gonna be locked in, ready to go, man. I hope we're back next week talking about the Final Four.
God bless it. All right, that's going to do it for Out of the Blue this week. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, give a positive review of Out of the Blue. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks to producer Tony on this one. I am Jared. That's Andy. This is Out of the Blue. We'd like to remind you that wherever you go, go blue.